And good morning to you on this Friday. Today is February the 20th. Man, this month just running by. Anyway, exciting day for us today. And, of course, TGIF, thank God that it's Friday. And look, thank God that we're still here. So anyway, but we have our producer today, Reverend Carly Brinkley, and guest in front of us, we have the at-large member of the school board, that is Greg West. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
Appreciate it. Well, look, there's been a lot of discussion, conversation about what's going on in the schools of late. Thought you would be a good person to bring in, that we could talk about some things. There was a consultant. How long ago was the consultant report that came to you guys?
So 3 years ago, we hired this consulting group, a nationally recognized consulting group, to evaluate all of our facilities, over 200 buildings on our 87 campuses. And their report came back in September. Well, we initiated in September of 23, and it took about a year for that to come back. And that's what identified $800 million in deferred maintenance and capital work. But then we said, okay, we know we've got more buildings than we need. We're only at 82% occupancy across the whole school system. So we asked them in March of last year to do a consolidation study, and that came to us in December.
Okay. And so then after the consultant report, internally you all had a committee. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I mean, there is an auxiliary committee, auxiliary meaning everything but education, the buildings and grounds and sports and all that stuff, everything but academics. So the auxiliary committee, this report was, and this work was through that committee, but after the consultants presented it, staff took the professional staff we've got, took their recommendations and tweaked it, and then presented it to the school board, and then that's what we acted on, was the staff and consultants' combined recommendations. Okay,
so your consultant report goes to staff, and then staff, they tweaked it, and then that was presented to the full board.
Correct, and to the committee and ultimately the full board, and then the committee made motions that obviously got adopted by the full board, and that's kind of where we are now with all of this. So it was a lot of heavy work. It was a lot of work that hadn't been done in 20 years. After the '97 bond, we built a bunch of new schools, but we didn't do anything about the ones built in 1952. And there's a bunch of them.
So let me back up. So the committee then, how many members?
There are
four members.
Yeah, all of our committees have 4 people.
Okay, and you, but your entire board is 9 members, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Who's on this committee that we're discussing now?
So the auxiliary committee was Jackie Brown is the chair, Jacqueline Brown, and myself, Susan Williams, and Dr. Tara Jordan are the 4 committee people.
Okay, all right. And okay, well that's cool. So now
that's the process. That's how the process works. Okay.
So the last school bond, there were 2 new schools that came out of that. Schools.
No, there were a bunch of new schools.
But high schools.
Well, 2 high schools, Jack Britt and Grace Creek.
Right, and then you had middle schools and elementaries.
Yeah, the John Griffins and everything. It was all west. It was basically to take care of Southview's overcrowding, where they had 3,000 students.
Right.
And so basically 2 schools cropped up to Britt and Grace Creek to get Southview back down to where it needed to be, because all the growth in the county was south and west.
Right.
Yeah, southwest part of the county.
Right. So well, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So, but again, we built a bunch of new, and then our enrollment was the whole time I've been on the board was 51,000 when Dr. Harrison was here, and then it's slowly dwindled down to about 48,000. And I just don't think people are moving here like they used to.
Right.
And because Moore County and Harnett County have kind of stepped up and stealing some of our thunder.
Yeah, that's true, because they're building a new school in Harnett off of 401.
All the new housing drives a lot of this, new housing. And if you don't have, I'll talk later, or one of my campaign issues is about water and sewer infrastructure. That drives development. And Harnett County and Moore are, benefiting from growth that we're not getting.
Right. I
So,
thought I was
anyway.
right one time. So you believe that we probably peaked at about 51,000?
I know we did peak at 51,000.
So we peaked at 51,000, and now we're back to 44.
47 something.
40.
47,
47,
48,
47.
47 something. 47.5, let's call it that.
Okay. All right. Well, your committee gets together, and you guys make your pitch, and it's in the news now. You got some folk that favor things, and some people don't. How did you all arrive at your decisions with regard to what schools need to be saved, what schools need to be repaired, or whatever? I mean, how did you arrive at where you are?
Well, I mean, it's a great question, and it's heavy work because these schools have been around for a long time, and there's emotional attachments to a lot of stuff. So
Correct.
The better thing is to try to be objective and look at the data. And I know, you need to look at both sides of it, but the consultants aren't from here, and they looked at the data. They had formulas that are proven to work across, the country, and they ranked the schools, and, then they evaluated how much, and Chestnut's going to need $6.9 million worth of work if we keep it open.
Okay.
And, so every school has a dollar amount attached to it that if we keep it, it's going to cost us, $6.9 million in that instance. And our middle schools, we're at 68% capacity. We've got too many middle schools. So it was that level of stuff. It showed us our high school capacities, our middle school capacity, our elementary school capacity, by those three bands, and then also by school capacity, and then proximity to each other. It was really neat being a builder and trying to understand this, and a real estate broker, having been in this community. I can close my eyes and see where all these schools are, and we've got in Manchester is 1.1 miles from W.T. Brown, 4-minute drive. We've got 2 elementary schools there. One was built in '94, W.T. Brown, on a beautiful campus. And Manchester, it's in okay shape, but it's built in 1952. And it's only got 250 kids in it.
Wow.
And W.T. Brown, 1.1 miles away, has 250 empty seats.
Oh, wow.
So it's that kind of stuff that just make it
Right.
real clear and easy to make it. Even though it's a hard decision to close a building that's been there since 1952, we can't keep paying and investing in buildings just like houses from 1952 if we've got a better replacement for those kids. And the bottom line on this is all the kids deserve the most newest learning environment we can afford.
Right. Wow. That makes sense.
Well, thank you. But I mean, it was just a lot of that kind of, that's just one quick analogy, but every one of these motions has that kind of backstory and research behind it and support for it.
Right. Right. Because I know that there's some people, they're giving pushback on some of this proposed closings.
Sure.
And I guess that's an emotional piece, understood. However, you guys somewhat have to be data-driven if you're going to be good stewards of our tax dollars.
You do, absolutely, because everybody can make a case to keep this one.
Right.
And then nothing gets done. And
Right.
and everybody, I won't say everybody, it's easy to make the decision to build new. That's what we did with the 97 bond.
Right.
Nobody argues about that, building new. But with that, you can't keep, especially if our enrollment's going down, you can't keep all the buildings you've got. So, we're at 82% occupancy as a school district. So as a taxpayer, we're running at 82% efficiency. And so that's not good. And so all these moves only get us to 86%. You don't want to be at 100% because that means you don't have any room for growth or movement or migration within the county. So this is definitely a step in the right direction to go from 85 campuses to 76 campuses. So think about our staffs, the operation, the heating and air people, the electricians, the plumbers. They've got 75 campuses to look after instead of 86. So we're going to be more efficient, and that saves about $5.5 million a year annually by closing these schools that we can now put into programs or people for the schools that need more help.
Right.
Anyway, it's just a better use of our tax dollars with no drop off in quality of education, and I would contend an improvement in the educational environments for many children.
Right. Greg, I hate to go here, but it's the reality of the world we live in now. Okay, things tend to be looked at through a racial lens.
Okay.
A whole lot.
Right.
Even education.
Right.
Even what school closes.
Sure.
What school remains open and all of that. And you guys are trying to navigate through all of that. So is it my understanding that, let's just talk about what's pretty close to us right now, Bardell, Seabrook Hills. So in this proposal, $190 million will go to Seabrook Road?
Absolutely, and I think that's gotten overlooked. And the debate for the last 10 years has been, new E. Smith High School. Fort Bragg wanted us to build one, and the community wanted one. Smith and Terry Sanford were both built in 1952.
Right.
They're our two oldest high schools, and so the energy's been to replace Smith and find a new spot. And we looked for land everywhere, 50, 60, 70 acres. It doesn't exist in this corridor that we're on, Murchison Road corridor. It's not there, or it would have been developed. And so makes the most sense. It sits on 29 acres now, just talking about Smith. And so with a new modern high school, the footprint will take less. It'll be 2 or 3 stories in how I envision it. You go to most surrounding counties now, and they're building 2 and 3 story high schools. And so that'll be a much smaller footprint of the building, and then we'll have actually more usable land on the campus. But to your bigger point, and I don't know where you were going with the racial comment, but this is $190 million invested in and upgrading the schools for majority black communities.
Sure.
So,
well, I tell you exactly what I'm going with the racial comment. The racial comment is that, I just hear stuff, there's the inference that there's a degree of unfairness to the African American community when it comes to money being spent, and that's why I asked you the question straight up, because that's what people say. Now, I'm not saying they have all the facts, and that's why I'm asking you. So if I'm understanding you correctly, so let's come back to E. Smith. Let's get that one out of the way. So the proposal is to tear that building completely down, then build it back up. Correct?
And use Reed Ross as the swing space, which means while Smith's being torn down and rebuilt, the E. Smith students will go to Reed Ross. Use that building.
Right.
E. Smith High School will relocate for 2 or 3 years to Reed Ross. That's called swing space.
Okay.
And then they'll come back.
Because, we both were at a meeting last night, and, the inference from some of the people that are running for the Board of Commissioners was that, okay, we got to find somewhere to build this, and we got to break ground, and now here you're telling me the proposal is to rebuild right where it is.
Absolutely.
They're going up, because certainly they can't go out because it's in
it's limited by acreage,
a landlocked neighborhood. But that's what I'm asking. I'm asking that like that because you heard some of what I heard, that there was it wasn't straight out called a race issue, but it was kind of inferred.
Well, they ought to be jumping for joy, because those that think the black community is getting picked on or closed down, because Margaret Willis, where I went to elementary school, over what was Belvedere over by Masrick Park, is predominantly black, but we are tearing it down, but we're building a new Ferguson Easley, and we're going to combine 2 schools.
Right.
And that's part of the efficiency of all this. Combine 2 smaller elementary schools into 1 bigger elementary school. You get economies there and no drop off in quality, and a new building. So Ferguson Easley's an old building.
So that would be a brand new building.
Brand new Ferguson Easley.
You're going to tear that down too, right?
Yes, sir.
And build it back up.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
So, most of these are that. And so it's helping. And I hate to use the race. It's not about race. These are students in the older buildings, regardless of their color, but the older buildings are in more predominantly black neighborhoods. That's not necessarily true. They are where they are, but they're old. They're 1950s buildings. That's how we picked on it. We didn't pick it where they were, but at the end of the day, the students that go to Ferguson Easley and Margaret Willis will have a brand new shiny building when other kids in the county don't.
Right. So there's not been a lot of building inside of the. I know your county school system, but I'm talking about inside the city of Fayetteville.
Sure. No new ones.
On this side of the county, there hasn't been a lot of new buildings built. Correct.
The report said our average age is like 1972 or something, across the district. But many of these buildings that I'm talking about now are built in the 50s. Ferguson Easley, Smith. Terry Sanford. Well, look at that. Terry Sanford and Smith were built in the same year. Terry Sanford was the historically white high school. Smith historically black. We're not addressing Terry Sanford. We're only addressing Smith. Right. So I don't know where the disconnect or the dissatisfaction is with that.
Right, makes sense. I'm with you. Look. I'm just trying to make it make sense.
No, I mean, I'm pretty passionate. I mean, look, it's just take all the emotional stuff out of it. Let's just build some new buildings for these kids that are in the older buildings. That's really the end result, and the staffs.
So at the end of the day, now you guys have pretty much done your job. You've come up with this plan, and now the money needs to be allocated from the Board of Commissioners.
Correct.
To make this happen. So you've thrown the pass. You just need the Board of Commissioners, if a sports analogy, to catch the ball and run it into the end zone.
And then we'll spike it and do a dance in the end zone. But yes, so this is a $610 million ask.
Okay.
$150 million for a new E.E. Smith.
Right.
$160 million for the other schools, elementary, that are on the list. Stedman Elementary, Ferguson Easley, J.W. Kuhn, Grace Creek High School Edition, 300 students there, plus or minus 300 students. All those new buildings, which will be combinations, close 2 elementaries, build 1 new one, close 2, build a new one.
Right.
So, $160 million for that, and then $300 million for just across the system maintenance and deferred maintenance, new heating and air conditions, new roofs, which, things are twice as expensive as they used to be. I think we built Jack Britt for $25 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And a new E. Smith is $150.
Right.
With no land.
Right.
And the beautiful thing, we'll save probably $10 million by using the existing infrastructure. The land's there. We don't have to put water, sewer, parking. We'll redo the parking lots. Obviously, they'll be new, but the land is. We don't have any land cost in E. Smith or none of these. And then, by closing 9 campuses, we're going to give that land back to the county commissioners to put to the highest and best use for the community. So where we tear Margaret Willis down, or Sherwood Park, or Brentwood, the county commissioners can decide what the best use of that land is, whether it's affordable housing, parks and recreation, green space, or economic development, on Skybow Road with Alger B. Wilkins, So anyway, it's the committee made the decisions, the board approved them, and now it's the ball's in the county commissioner's court.
Sure. I would, my language, I looked at the votes. There weren't huge splits, but there were a lot of split votes on that. I know you can't speak for the people's malcontent or discontent or disagreement, but I'm wondering probably what was the wedge that caused people not, among you, your colleagues, not to want to accept that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can only speculate, but I spoke to it earlier. I sense sometimes it's hard, and maybe it would have taken longer to reach the same. The data's not going to change. The economics aren't going to change. The facts aren't going to change. So I guess it's just making the hard decision. The easy one, to build new, like I gave the analogy before, to build new is easy. Yes, I'm going to spend $150 million or $160 million for a bunch of new stuff.
Right.
But the closing of schools and the consolidation piece pays for and justifies the new.
Right.
You can't just build the new and the easy decisions. So I think it was hard for me, but it had to be done, and our committee brought it forth to make the closing recommendations. And those, by closing those 9 campuses, saved $31 million in deferred maintenance. So that's $31 million that we can put into other buildings to improve other students' learning environments. So that's a $31 million savings for the taxpayers. And then I mentioned already, $5.5 million annually. And get this, no staff is going to be fired. Nobody's going to lose their jobs because the students are all going to have a place to go.
Right.
And the teachers follow the students, right? I mean,
Sure.
the teachers follow the students. So wherever the students land, the teacher will be there according to the state ratios. And then we will handle, yes, 9 schools, if we close 9 buildings, won't need custodians, librarians, or cafeteria staff, but we have enough turnover. We'll take care of them through what's called attrition. With job openings, they'll have to change where they work, but they'll still work for Cumberland County Schools.
Sure. Well, look, this is exciting information.
Well, I'm glad you think it's exciting.
Well, for me, I put it like that. But I'm somewhat of an optimist. We'll go to a break, come back. We have the school board at-large member, Greg West, in, and we're talking schools. Certainly, there's been a lot of discussion about that, and people were, my phone's been ringing too, and I said, I don't know. I said, but I know someone that they do know. So we are in the middle of this conversation. I have some other questions I want to ask of Mr. West when we come back inside the morning show. And we'll be back 1600 AM, 99.7. Stick around. We'll discuss this with even further.
The U.S. military is prepared for potential strikes on Iran as early as this weekend. President Trump has not yet made a decision. With North Carolina's primary election day less than 2 weeks away, Meredith College professor David McClennan says a legislative race involving Senate President Pro Tem Phil Berger is in the spotlight nationally. Seasonal allergy problems are starting to show up across North Carolina with a few warm days lately. Holly Ridge Town Council approved a request to annex and develop over 1,000 acres of land in Onslow and Pender County near Topsail Island. The United States wins its 3rd Olympic gold medal in women's hockey, beating Canada 2-1 in the Milan Cortina Winter Olympics in overtime. And actor Eric Dane has died following a battle with Lou Gehrig's disease. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. Cumberland County, in partnership with the city of Fayetteville and community partners, is opening white flag shelters on Sunday and Monday, February 22nd and 23rd, and warming centers on Monday, February 23rd, in response to expected below freezing temperatures. Residents are encouraged to check on neighbors, older adults, and those without reliable heat. Remember to bring pets indoors during freezing weather. The city of Fayetteville has a sidewalk update. A total of 350 linear feet of sidewalk has been installed on Levy Drive. The project consists of about 1,000 linear feet of sidewalk from Trainer Drive to Dixon Street on the north side of Levy Drive. The sidewalk project will improve pedestrian accessibility and increase walkability along Levy Drive within the area of Ashley Elementary School. Don't forget, next week, join Mayor Mitch Colvin and City Council chambers at City Hall for a cup of coffee and great dialogue. This is Monday the 23rd at 10 a.m. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Good Friday morning. We start your day with mostly cloudy skies and temperatures in the upper 50s and low 60s. Scattered showers and a brief storm are possible through this afternoon. Highs will be warmer, reaching the mid to upper 70s with a breeze. The more cloud cover overnight and into Saturday morning. Temperatures drop to around 50 degrees. We'll have another chance for scattered showers on Saturday with mostly cloudy skies. Highs cooler, only reaching the low 60s. For the North Carolina News Network, I'm meteorologist Grant Skinner in the Weather Center.
If you pay your city or town for electricity, you live in a public power community. Public power communities provide electricity to families and businesses from a locally owned and operated system. Public power systems are not-for-profit and provide electricity at affordable rates with unbeaten reliability. Your local public power provider invests in your community, providing local jobs and supporting your local economy. Electricities of North Carolina is the energy behind public power. Learn more at electricities.com.
When leadership works for the people, communities grow. That's why I'm stepping up. This is Terry Thomas, candidate for County Commissioner District 1. Public safety, youth opportunities, growing our economy. dignity for families and seniors, and clean, safe water. These aren't just talking points. I believe in transparent, people-focused leadership. Please vote Terry Thomas, a reliable voice for Cumberland County. Paid for by the committee to elect Terry Thomas.
You know the only feeling sweeter than opening a college acceptance letter? Knowing that you'll be able to pay for tuition however far you go. The first step? Completing the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA for short. Find out how much money for college you qualify for. Grants, scholarships, and other opportunities are waiting. How far can you go? Find out at cfnc.org/FAFSA101.
Sheriff Jonathan Morgan has served this community as a firefighter and deputy sheriff since 1996. For nearly 3 decades, he has answered the call, protecting families, standing in the gap, and serving with honor. Sheriff Morgan has worked his way through the ranks to become sheriff of Cumberland County, earning the trust of the men and women he leads and the community he serves. Now Sheriff Morgan is running to continue to be your sheriff because he wants people to feel safe in their homes, safe in their neighborhoods, and safe in our county. Sheriff Morgan believes in our county, and together we make it safer. When you vote for Sheriff Morgan, you're choosing experience, you're choosing commitment, you're choosing to believe in our county too. So let's vote for Sheriff Morgan. Early voting begins Thursday, February 12th through February 28th, 2026. Election day is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026.
This is Sheriff Jonathan Morgan, and I approve this message, paid for by the Jonathan Morgan for Sheriff Committee.
I am William Toonk Wesley, running for County Commissioner at Large. Here's the reality. Cumberland County ranks near the bottom in health outcome. And in Grays Creek, families are still asking a basic question. Is our water safe? We cannot tell people to wait on lawsuits while they drink, cook, and bathe in every day. You can't drink a lawsuit. Clean water is public health. It requires action now. Here's the truth. If we could spend $36 million on a sandbox, we could protect people's water now.
Paid for by the committee to elect William Toonk Wesley, Commissioner at Large.
I'm Charles Evans, your candidate for Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. As your commissioner at large, I worked very hard for you and led the effort to sue Comores for accountability for polluting our water. I led the effort to have expungement clinics, and to this date, over 1,000 citizens of nonviolent crime live a life of freedom. My responsibility to you is to make your life better. I work hard for you. For bold and intentional leadership, vote Charles Evans for Cumberland County Commissioner at Large. Paid for by the committee to elect Charles Evans.
Practicing a championship way can happen 100% of every day, on the mat and when traveling highways. A law of sportsmanship includes taking the high road when going away and returning home. Buckle up your seatbelt in the front and back seats. Every seat, every time. Each time you click, it counts as a winning ticket. Demonstrate your championship drive through your safety practice. A winning major decision. This message was brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association.
I'm the threat that's already inside the house. In the closet, under the bed, in the car. But I don't want your money or your TV. I can't be scared away or negotiated with. I'm patient and quiet. I don't sleep. You can't call the cops on me. You can't even see me. I'm the threat of family fire. And as long as your guns aren't stored securely, I'll be there. Protect your family. Secure all your guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
And we're back now about 22 minutes for the top of the hour here again. Our guest today, GREGG West, who is an at-large member of the school board, and we're discussing the consolidation highlights and the potential cost savings to a plan that has been put forth and voted on by the Board of Education and forwarded to the County Board of Commissioners, it's a $610 million ask, and I would say that a third of that approximately will be going to the Bardale community, just a couple of miles from here, right off Murchison Road. Approximately 1/3 of that.
Right,
so,
190 million.
190 million. So just keep that in mind. Now, this is me as a regular citizen, but you're a professional here. Because I heard people talk about, just the schools, and they reference Jack Britt a lot.
Sure.
I've heard professionals and regular people say, well, we want, I'm going to just be honest about it. We want a new E. Smith because we want the same thing to happen around a new E. Smith that happened around Jack Britt. And I'm thinking, now I'm a regular citizen, but I remember when Jack Britt was first built, all that property there was barren. I mean, it was
cotton fields. 30,000 acres we paid for it.
30, right. So I'm saying, across the street with all of the, you got this real super duper Harris Teeter. Harris Teeter over there.
Publix is under construction.
Right.
And a Target is coming up on the other side as we speak.
Right. So
where are they going to go around here?
Right. So I'm saying,
build out.
Right. Even though you're making that $190 million investment, which is needed, still I think that is it realistic for us to think that because you don't have anywhere to put those things over there off of Seabrook Road. I mean, where is that going to happen at? To think that that's going to translate into what happened at Jack Britt, for me, just seems like that's not a reasonable thought to have.
No, sir, but I'll tell you this. So you're absolutely right on that. And I was taught this early on in my school board career, that we don't build schools for economic development, or we don't go put one out somewhere in hopes of housing coming. We react to the building that's where the need goes. We don't speculate on schools. We follow the data and put schools where the rooftops are and where they're needed. So Britt was a result of Southview having 3,000 kids.
Right.
When it's built for 1,500 probably. And, Grace Creek, the same thing. That's where the growth, we reacted to growth. So you really have to take that argument out of it, and we're replacing these schools because they need replacing. I mean,
right.
Those schools are not, all the ones we're talking about, most every one was built in the 1950s. And so they're 75-ish years
they're
old.
Older than I am.
Correct.
And I'm 70.
Right. And
right.
So, and they need more maintenance than you do. But so we're replacing schools that need replacing and trying to be as efficient as we can with it. That's more the spirit of it. However, riding here, I drove down Filter Plant Drive and saw the tennis center, which is finally starting to take shape.
Correct.
And you can appreciate the magnitude of that vision.
Right.
And then you see the new rec center, senior center there at the corner.
Yeah,
and then you pull up to the light and you see the new classroom building, I assume it is, being built at Fayetteville State. And down to the right will be new housing down there. And then you see the Chick-fil-A coming this way. And then that 190 million will be on Seabrook, although it's out of sight, or Seabrook Road. That ought to be an impetus for more positive development along Murchison Road. But just like we look for a school site, it's all been developed. We're having to tear down and build new. I would hope more of that tear down and build new happens on Murchison Road.
Right.
And so hopefully this will be more of the impetus for positive development, but people got to let go of the land and turn it over to a better use, or it's going to keep looking like it's looking.
Right. So yeah, I agree, but I just wanted to make that point. Next point is, question is, what do you say to these individuals? Because whatever decision you make, everybody's not going to be happy.
Right.
What about, I know, gentleman was in yesterday. He's an Ann Chestnut graduate, and it's my understanding some of them are meeting their discontent with the decision that was made regarding Ann Chestnut. What I see happening is some people that attended a school and their legacy, but in the present day, youngsters, it's not what they did 50 or 60 years ago. You have to look at what's happening right now, and they want to hold on to something for what was and not deal with what is now. I sympathize with them. However, you all made a decision regarding Ann Chestnut. So if you're in front of them, what do you say to them?
Well, and I appreciate that, and that was probably one of the more difficult emotional decisions that had to be made. You know, I spoke earlier that the building it was built in 54 maybe, somewhere around there.
Okay. They'll make it 71 years old.
Yeah, and so it needs $6.9 million worth of work. But I talked to a graduate of Ann Chestnut when it was a high school, and he said it closed as a high school in 1969.
Right.
So the youngest graduate of Ann Chestnut High School, which was the second black high school in Cumberland County, is 75 years old. The youngest graduate is 75 years old. So, and he further told me that wasn't the original building. It was originally, the first Ann Chestnut High School was on the Lewis Chapel church property.
Right, I heard that. Right.
Yeah, so it's not even the original building, and it's now a middle school.
Right.
And so, but the committee did do an important thing with motion number 15 on the back page of what I've got you, is that we established a memorialization committee to honor the legacy of the individuals for whom the school buildings being taken out of service are named for, because almost all the schools are named for somebody.
Right.
And Algebra Wilkins' son called me. So Algebra Wilkins was a superintendent in the 50s who died of malaria after the flood here. He was superintendent and died of malaria. He called me and he said, I understand the building's old, it's named for my dad. Just make sure his portrait gets taken care of and not get thrown away. That was his concern. He said, I know the building's old, it's got to go. That was Algebra Wilkins' son. And then I know the Ann Chestnut piece is important to people. So I hope we can honor her legacy, because she was an important figure in the black community in education as the Gene supervisor of black schools in the first half of the last century. So we'll figure out a way to honor her, and we can name another school after her, and that would be fine with me, to keep her legacy going on a brand new building. But that building on that spot doesn't make sense. It's a 29-acre middle school campus, which is, you know, way bigger than it needs to be. And anyway, so they've got memorial pavers, they've got a statue or a monument there.
Right.
And this motion says to direct district staff to take care of all that stuff. Whatever memorials are in these buildings, let's figure out the best place to name something or to move it and relocate it and to honor their legacy. And I think that's the best we can do, is being sensitive to that. But this one alumni told me, he said, I understand that. Do what you think's best and try to, you know, keep the name alive.
Yeah,
but
well,
do
you
what
know,
you think's best.
a dear friend of mine, matter of fact, he'll be on at 10, a show called Heartbeat, and that's Reverend Dr. John Godbolt, very dear friend of mine.
Sure.
And he and his brother both went there, John and Ron. They were principals inside of, I mean, they're die-hard educators.
They were working when I was on the board.
That's
so
what I'm saying, right.
They've been retired for a while, but
yeah, right. They're die-hard educators, and there are other ones too. A number of them. I feel for them, the emotional stuff. You know, I can. I feel for them. I don't know exactly how they feel because I went to a segregated school, grades 1 through 8, but in 1969 I was going into high school. So I, you know.
Yeah. So how long do we keep it there?
But that's what I'm saying. You're right.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, so I get it. So yes, and I appreciate you guys appreciating that. You know, these are difficult decisions, but they're being made with compassion, and they're still the best decisions for the whole of Cumberland County.
Right.
And the greater good for these students to be in newer buildings.
Sure.
Instead of older buildings, just because I went there.
Right.
You know, in the 70s. So, but I'll make another point. You know, E. Smith has moved 2 or 3 times. It
That's
was
true.
on Washington Drive.
It did.
In the 40s. That was the second or third E. Smith after Orange Street, and then Campbell, a building on Campbell Avenue for a few years. And then Washington Drive was E. Smith until the new one was built in the 50s. And then it became Washington Drive Junior High. And then when it got old enough and in disrepair, it got torn down. Fayetteville High School was a beautiful building on where Highsmith Rainey Hospital was.
Correct.
And then it became, when they built the new one, it became Alexander Graham Junior High.
I remember that.
And then it got torn down.
Yeah, well, look, I was here when that was torn down in the 80s, I think.
I was a baby then. No, I'm just playing. I barely remember that. But I mean, so that's the history. It's been done before, and you know, we just got to turn the page and move on, but do it with compassion and honor the legacies of people. And it's not tied to the building. Her legacy is not tied to a building.
Yeah, well, you know, I that's my approach. I tell people, I said, now, look, I have some friends that live in Durham, the historical black high school there, Hillcrest, Durham.
Okay.
And I say they don't approach this the same way, because the hillside they have now is not on the same spot that the old hillside was on. But the legacy continues on. And being from Harnett County, the high school there, one high school there was Shorttown, is in Lillington, and they're going through some transitionary stuff. It's no longer a school, period, now.
Right.
It went from high school to a middle school to a primary school to it's no school. The building just too old.
Sure.
And
it's obsolete. That's the architectural term. They're obsolete. They just don't work anymore for the current need.
So,
but I mean, we wouldn't want that of our hospitals.
Well, and I think people, wanted to hold on their legacy. I know I have a dear friend. I was talking to him. He said, "No, they," and I don't know who they are.
Right.
So I'm not saying who they are, but they just want to change the legacy. And if E. Smith, they want to name it something else. I said, I don't believe that. He said, no. I know them, and I don't know who them are. I don't know.
I guess I'm the ringleader of them.
That's what I'm saying. but I'm just saying it's a fear, and I think that not only here, but I think this is something that permeates too many places in our country now.
Right.
That we just don't trust each other. With power, and we're going to lose our legacy. And when I hear people say things like, well, they're trying to rewrite our history, I'm like, well, with all of the means that you have to tell your story now, I don't see how anyone could rewrite anyone's history. But then again, that's my perspective. Well, but that's what I'm saying.
Well,
and so, I got where you're coming from. I'm just saying people have unfounded, well, I'm calling it unfounded fears.
Well, and you use the word fear, but you also use the word power, that we've got power. But I'll flip it and say we've got decision-making responsibility.
Right.
And that's where it's coming from. It's not coming from power or any ulterior motives. It's coming from a responsibility, an oath to do what's best for the students of Cumberland County. And every one of these students, every one of our children need to be in the newest learning environment they can be, and our staff needs to work in the newest buildings that we can afford for them. Just like when you go to a medical center, you don't want to be in the oldest medical center because it's the one you were born in. You want to, the best health care.
Sure.
And the best, so we just, got to get past that and just trust it. And now with the website, so we don't even honor our task superintendents. And the history of all these named buildings doesn't exist anywhere. I had a real hard time finding out who Margaret Willis was. I had a real hard time finding out who Pauline Jones was. Alger B. Wilkins. I had to talk to his son. Alger, his middle name's Bright. Alger Bright Wilkins. Doug Bird. We haven't done a good job of capturing our history. So part of Motion 15 is to work with Bruce Dawes, the city historian. I talked to him. He said,
I know Bruce, yeah.
Bruce said, I will help you. I will consult and help you build a broad-based community team to preserve the history before all the people with memory die. We can preserve this history of our buildings and our people, our important people. If they
Reed Ross.
Reed Ross. Doug Bird after Mr. Wilkins died, Doug Bird became superintendent for 29 years. And then Reed Ross was the last city superintendent before, then Fletcher Womble. And so Jack Britt, obviously we named a building after him. So we've got to, and now with our website, you can memorialize all these people and have their profiles in a uniform format on the website. And that's going to preserve this,
Sure.
Going forward, I tell Ann Chestnut's story better than an old building is going to tell Ann Chestnut's story.
That's true. You're right. I mean, I've done some research on her. Incredible person. And in Armstrong, which is across the river.
Right. That was the only black high school in the day, and people had to commute across the river to go there until one was built. So James McLaughlin told me that story. His mom, her senior year, had traveled from West Fayetteville all the way to Armstrong to go to school.
Right.
Back in the day. And then her senior year, it was built on Rayford Road there at Lewis Chapel Church.
And some of them didn't go no further than the 6th grade.
Well, I don't know about.
Yeah, I'm saying, right. I'm saying, I heard about it. I mean, I did research on that.
So, I just think we've got to get past the buildings and get into the legacy, which is, part of the sensitivity I think we've shown with this of making, decisions about the assets, the buildings and locations, but we can still honor memories. Better than we ever can, like you alluded to, better than we ever can this day and time.
So are you guys going to be holding some roundtables, if you will, or meetings throughout the county to get feedback from the community?
Well, yes. The North Carolina general statutes say we just can't arbitrarily decide to close a school.
Correct.
We have to have a public hearing and listen to input, and then, so there's some steps in our statutes to follow to close a school, which is fine. It keeps it from being a quick and arbitrary decision. But this was the plan as the consultants and our staff and ultimately the board approved to move forward with. So unless there's compelling evidence to the contrary, I would hope this would go through.
Well, I'm praying for you.
Thank you.
Because I just don't want someone to hijack what appears to be a well thought out plan that is data driven,
right?
That should serve the community, the whole community well, and turn it into something that it's not.
Yeah, because there's a little something for everybody as best we can. Stedman across the river gets some new buildings there. The Grace Creek gets a new addition, and then the Hope Mills Corridor with Sherwood Park, Brentwood, and J.W. Kuhn getting new building there, and then E. Smith, clearly we've talked about Seabrook Road. So it's spread around pretty well, although Seabrook Road's taking up a third of the spend. The rest of it, $300 million is going to maintenance, which will improve Pine Forest and some other schools that need some love, some expensive love shown on them. The schools that were built in the 70s, we can still get another 20 or 30 years out of those if we take care of them.
Sure, I guess, I believe Westover building something like 76.
74, 76.
Yeah,
okay,
so, right.
They've got some more life left in them, but we've got to take care of them. So that's kind of the spirit there. So I hope people can see we're trying to be with 85 campuses going down to 76 campuses. We're the 75th largest school district in the country. It's a big task, and we're trying to look after them all and be good stewards of all of our tax money.
Sure. Well, look, Greg, thank you so much for coming in and sharing. I'll leave final comments to you. I support, I don't have any children in the school system. However, but it shouldn't matter to all of us, if you live here, because education is important.
It is, and I appreciate that. And again, the spirit behind all of this is to be more efficient so we can use more of our resources to make a difference in the lives of the children and provide better environments. So if we can save $5.5 million a year, we can pour that into where it's needed and not have to just keep tapping the county commissioners for more. But again, the spirit of this is to get kids and staff in newer learning environments. That's really the end result of it. So I hope everybody would be supportive of it and know it was not made in haste and with a lot of data and a lot of thoughtfulness and with the spirit of what's for the greater good for all of Cumberland County.
Right. Well, look, guys, we get ready to get out of here. Great programming all day. We got at 10 o'clock. Oh, they're not coming today? Okay, all right. So, but anyway, at 11 o'clock, we have MP3. Great programming, and I just hope that you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy this weather, because I understand that old man Winter is going to peek his head back again shortly.
Really?
Yes, sir.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, it's
I heard rain was in the forecast, but not
maybe
cold.
not as vicious as it's been before, but I believe that it's going to come back a little bit. But anyway, look, enjoy you guys, and love you and thank God for you. So look, we look forward to everything with you on today, and thank you again, Greg, for enlightening us and sharing your perspective, and we look forward to hearing what the community has to say about this.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share information, and sunlight never hurts.
Okay, yes, sir. Take care. Have a great one.